I will edit. Don't worry. Something gone very English.
That's the tea.
What is the tea? Okay. So, David, I wanted to keep it cash. Haven't thought of any questions. Well, I thought of a few.
Alright.
But I'm just going to chat to you. So the first thing, as I said, you have to think of a name for our second. This is second class.
Two.
Number 2. So what would you like to name?
Can we call it tea for two?
Yeah.
Look at that.
That's great. Tea for 2. Tell me about your music, David. You're obviously I met you from Free State Gothic. You're in Zauner.
Yes.
You do the blues.
Oh, but all that mojo.
That mojo. What else? What are you not in? How do you fit it all in?
Oh, it's just sometimes don't sleep and sometimes nothing happens for months. Yeah, I think that's all I need at the moment, more or less. I'm going to a festival in Fukuoka in April. It looks pretty amazing. Like it's really chill, intimate, kind of.
Oh, I want to go.
It's like a well-being with music by the beach in Fukuoka sort of festival.
Not
No, not one of those. I think.
Are you going to play?
Yeah, I'm gonna do. Maybe that's more interesting than anything else I can say. I'm gonna do, I think, a solo set. Like I'll probably.
I've never seen you do solos.
Yeah, because I just don't. I'll probably like pull in people to collaborate.
That's not so.
And then it won't be a solo set. But right now, the plan is to use this to kind of kick my own butt.
Yeah.
To pull together a solo set.
Cool.
And you know, it's meant to have a little bit of texture of West African guitar music, which is like something I love, and it's I love too. It's better than gold standard. Yeah, it would be interesting to see what I can pull together, whether I pull some beats together to play with, which would be something I haven't really ever spent the time to do before. I usually just go for the low-hanging fruit and collabs, and someone else makes beats and I work with that.
You were saying you were working on jazz as well before.
Yeah, it'll be there. I'm definitely trying to expand the colour, the different options, the tones, and the tension. I think that's the word I get from jazz. You know, the tension between, you know, a root note or a triad or a 4-note chord, and then putting another note on top, and things like that, and just the colour that gives
nodding
you.
and pretending.
Yeah, me too. I'm just making it up. But so yeah, the short version of jazz for me is that I've been around jazz musicians forever.
Yes.
And you know, just for some reason, every year or so, I have a little season where I think, oh, I'm going to work on my jazz and learn a bit more. But I'll make progress for a while, and at first it was a couple of weeks, and now it's like maybe even a month or two. And then I'll just be like, okay, done with that for now. You know, it's like you climbing this massive mountain, and you just get high enough to see quite how far away even the base camp is. So then you sort of give up.
Yes,
and
relatable.
You know, so that's my little jazz journey, and you know, eventually, around the time I die, I may be able to play jazz.
Okay, I just love a jazzy chord.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say my genre is. So, yeah, I think it's always nice to not be jazz or African or this and have all the different elements, and then let other people figure out what it is.
I think so. Then you could pretend that you're just like, you know, you're all other labels. I've evolved beyond that, you know, just because you don't really know how to answer the question. But yeah, it's funny too. I think my genre is collab. Yeah, I remember Tash, who you know is one of the very active long-term musicians in Hanoi, who just moved back to Melbourne. She, you know, was asking me once, you know, I always see you play with other people. What's your real music? And, you know, my first response was my real music is playing with other people, trying to find a connection, trying to grasp or at least interact with some idea that they have, some passion that they have.
Build off of each other.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I mean, I like that. And also because I'm a bit lazy. So, you know, it gives you something to work with. It's so much easier.
I just find it like the opposite. That playing with other people is also. If I'm singing, fine, whatever. But if I'm playing guitar, I feel so much more pressure because I don't necessarily know I can't read music. So I can listen to something and then in my room be like, okay, cool. Yeah, okay, got it. Oh no, not that one. Okay. Whereas you're just like, oh, straight away.
I mean, I sort of know what it is, but what I do know is the first thing of music is to trust your ears. You know, your ears.
I feel like I can do that with singing.
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't, and I know what note will sound good. I just don't know where that is. So then I'm like, okay, it's there. I need to learn the notes of the guitar.
Maybe.
But
there's some pretty amazing players who don't. I was watching some in my little jazz. I'm gonna call it 2 months this year. My little. What's the word for 2 months? Anyway, in my bi month, in my whatever that thing, 2 months of jazz, which sort of coincided, I guess, with everyone just hanging out at home because of COVID and stuff. Hashtag, yeah, lockdown life. I watched this video, and there was this really amazing guy who didn't understand about theory, but he's famous in the jazz world, and he was talking about when he was in the band and another guy who's even way more famous than him. Like someone I'd heard of it is in the pantheon of the jazz greats. And he was like, oh, he only really knows the first 4 notes or 3 notes. After that, it's all ear.
Yeah.
And this guy was saying, I realized when I was jamming, because he's a famous saxophone player, but I realized when I was jamming with him, he would sometimes wait to hear the chord. So then he knew what he would play. And he couldn't necessarily tell you what it was either, and it's amazing like the level to which he had taken it. And I do have a little bit of suspicion that a lot of the jazz greats, they did what they did, and then all the other people studied it and like made it into a theoretical framework and run courses on it and all that stuff, whereas those people were just, no, this is what I hear and this is where I'm taking it. That's my theory. I might be wrong.
That's, I think, how music kind. I mean, there's definitely value in learning, but I'm almost scared to learn because I don't want to almost limit myself by that doesn't fit in that that chord. But sometimes you create some really wacky stuff just by saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the reason I want to stop. I think I kind of run out of inspiration, but I also start to feel like everything else I play is being ruined by trying to learn jazz, and screw this. I just want to, play from my heart, and play what I want to play, and not be thinking so hard about all the theory.
I think that's good.
That's
good. When you're younger,
most of my life.
Most of your life, obviously.
There you go.
No, but you know when you're first getting into music, when you're as a young person, and then sometimes dress a certain way. Like I would listen to The Cure and more black and it's very goth. Were you were obviously from Australia, were you a surfer dude? Were you a goth?
Yeah.
I imagine you'd be...
It's funny, like I happened to look at some old photos from, I guess when I was, in my teenage years. Like, there's one photo of me next to a friend of mine, and I was dressed in my best surfer gear,
Did you have like curtains and stuff?
Yeah, kind of. I was showing the photo. I had big fringe, and I'd probably put some lemon juice in a little bleach or something. But my friend standing next to me, he had sort of been he was a goth. And so, I think he was wearing a System of a Down t-shirt or something, and I was wearing some Billabong jacket. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I look back at the least interesting kind of music or creative stuff was the sort of surf scene in Sydney, or in Australia. But that is, that was what I was really wanting to be into or trying to fit with at the time. And now I look back and think, a lot of my friends back then, those are things that have stuck with me much more.
Yeah. Well, I just used to rely on my friends' older brothers to be like, this is what you're going to listen to, this is cool, listen to Madness.
No, and there was none of that sort of through my family, really, but like my older sister's friends. I suppose some of them were into music, but I used to sort of reject what they were into. I guess I wanted to find my own stuff. But yeah, a lot of my friends were so much more savvy than me, and over the years, they were the ones that really switched me on to that. So yeah, and then, you know, I grew up in the church. There was a lot of music there as well. It's a funny thing. I think a lot of, even in Hanoi, a lot of the expat musicians have that, like a non-negligible number have that background.
I rebelled against my parents by going to church. Because they were like,
and then you chose one with no music.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to figure out the meaning of life. Don't know what you guys are doing. And then I realised, no, this isn't for me. But I went to the Salvation Army for a bit. I joined the choir.
I mean, they're famous for their music, but...
I joined the choir, but I mean... Yeah, I feel like everyone I speak to is like, yeah, I was in the choir, we did guitar, we did keyboard. And my sister played the cornet, actually. Yeah.
There you go.
And maybe I just wasn't...
But that's what I got started, was in the, like, primary school band, playing trombone.
Oh, we just had recorded.
8 years old, and I meant to say trumpet, I think, and I said trombone by mistake. And of course, they need trombone players, so that was it. You're never going back on that. Sort of,
you will be a trombone.
Exactly, you're done then. You're going to be a trombonist. So that's where I got started.
Can you still play the trombone?
Yeah, it's still inside me somewhere. I can, you know.
Like riding a bike?
Yeah, it's like it really is. It's just that I would be a bit of a wobbly line at first, but if I played it,
I'm gonna get you to play some trombone
one day
on a track.
Okay, here you go. Give me a little notice. I've pulled it out in Hanoi a couple of times. We used to...
Do you have one here?
I have the same sort of student one that I played when I was in, school. I have played it once or twice with Zamanos.
I can imagine the trombone in Zamana or maybe Hanoi. Did you play in the Hanoi Jazz?
No, I've never been elevated into that group yet.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still exist.
No,
they seem to have splintered into a stack of other bands, which is, sort of
evolving.
Fertilized the scene, right? I mean, Dan and the Vices played, at La Bodega, where I played with Zamna on Saturday. I think that band mostly kind of originated from that world, and half of what Dustin does, and so there's lots of stuff out there. There's the salsa.
I'm just excited. The salsa still, I still haven't seen them, but they're playing at the temple soon.
Oh, cool.
I'm gonna come and see you guys. I'm just excited to start playing gigs again because I feel like everyone's left, and then everyone's also been secretly practicing at home. Me and Rika.
Yeah.
And we just wanna...
There you go, you're ready.
We're ready! I was gonna ask you about pedals.
Pedals?
Guitar pedals, because you always have so many, and
I
don't really know. Now I've got like chorus.
Yeah.
Delay.
Yeah.
Distortion.
Good.
I feel like I've got another one. Oh, a looper, but that's just for practicing.
You don't perform with a looper ever?
No, I did in the beginning, but I need to practice it more. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
It's kind of hard. But obviously you have your volume 1.
Yeah.
I've seen you. You've got so many pedals. What's a good?
I have some.
Setup.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a big part of when I play. Like not necessarily having heaps of pedals, but having a few.
If
I strip back, I suppose the pedals that I really rely on the most. It depends what I'm playing, but I have a volume pedal is a huge part of my. I hate playing loud, and particularly I hate playing too loud. And I love being able to sort of roll off the start of the note, swell it in, and I'm just riding my volume pedal all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe too much when I play, but I just love that. And then, obviously delays. I have this tape delay simulator. It's like Strymon El Capistan. I've done a few. The one I've got I really like. It's in a pedal, so it doesn't. You have a knob that in theory is. There's no tape in there. It's all done magically.
Yes.
There's a small elf in there, and I don't know how it does it, but you have knobs that will control like how old was the tape, or You know, how unfaithful is the reproduction of the sound, and all of those things become very musical. So I suppose the volume pedal and the El Capistan, the tape delay stimulator, are maybe the two pedals that I go to the most.
Yeah.
Various types of, tube screamer, I suppose, is my favourite. But I have the rap distortion pedal and sometimes overdrive and things like that. And then at the other end, I have this really funky old early 80s Japanese phaser that I love for examiner. I was using that on Saturday night.
I didn't realise when I first started playing guitar that pedals existed, and I thought that the sounds were just because people were so good at playing guitar. Yeah. And then I'd listen, like at Zamina. Obviously, I know that.
No one's that good.
No, but it's so cool how different the sounds can be, and it's a
you sort of read forums and sit in guitar shops and borrow things, and eventually a little bit. I've got a friend in Sydney that knows enormous amounts about this stuff, and I learned a lot from him, and I'll still ask him stuff.
I just watch YouTube videos.
Yeah, and now it's YouTube videos. I am so lazy. I'm just like fast food. I just want to hear what does it do? I don't care about anything else. But yeah, I've hardly added anything new to my rig for the last 8 years, I think. Ask a bit and try something new. There's lots, but it's also funny too because there's just pedals have multiplied in the last 10 years, and it's boutique everything, and it gets kind of a bit tedious, I suppose, because they sort of break down to, okay, there's the whole family of tube screamers, there's the family of distortion, overdrive, and there's a million of these things, and everyone's always claiming theirs one is the holy grail of whatever, but
that's what I mean. I feel like I can't really add that much more unless
a lot more.
But
it depends what you want to do with it as well. I mean, and it's still fun to hear someone whose music you really like, and then you can go online and someone will have, done a diagram of their rig. The guys from Radiohead, I think, probably get clicked on more than almost anyone. Because they have amazing guitar sounds, and, and then of course you have to, which era was it, and then which rig did they have. And some of that stuff's tricky too, because they're a big enough band, they might have a guitar tech, or more than one that's doing, making their own, making controller boards for them and things.
I've seen loads of those that make your own pedal kits.
I've sort of thought I might do that, and went down to the market here where you can buy electronic components, but it's just not really my thing. I want to play music, and
me too. I don't trust my skills.
Yeah, that too. But yeah, no, I think there's heaps to explore there. And look, there'll probably be some point where I go and buy a few more things and try a few more sounds. But I've got a few things in the back of my mind. But I just like what I have. And
I think it's.
Playing around.
You get to a point, you tried it all. I know I'm trying to get a clean sound, because sometimes I've had it before where if they're plugging straight into a mixer, then I'll have my pedals, and then one will be really quiet.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So
there's real basics on that.
I bought a preamp. I bought a preamp per pedal. And I'm hoping that will fix it from my research.
It will fix it a bit, yeah. It will fix some things for sure. And there's a lot, there's a whole mic line thing and what's meant to go into mixers, and preamp will help for sure. There was a period where digital, it was a bit like transistor came in, and instead of having a huge tube or valve, you had this tiny little thing that never broke and never messed up, or almost never, and it would cost nothing. So, but then people realized, well, hang on, but they don't actually sound quite as good. Everyone went back to analog. And I feel the same things happened more recently. There was this big push back to analog, maybe from the 90s, certainly the 2000s. And yet now I do think some of the digital stuff has just gotten caught up, and, all these people thought they were going to find their sound by going back to, some mixing desk that was used to mix some movie in the 1970s, and then it turns out that they were also mixing the best musicians of the 1970s,
Yeah.
and so you might be able to get their mixing desk, but you can't be them. And people have sort of, I think it's a little more open now, that, you know, there was a period where it was just, everyone just wanted to analog everything, true bypass everything. But I have to say, having said all that, I think it's hard to beat for a recording guitar a mic, and often just an SM57 Shure in front of.
What is an SM?
It's those little, they're just very directional mics.
Yeah, I know what you
I
mean.
had a beat up one shoved in front of my amp for both Zaman and Free State Gothic.
Right, because the first time, a couple of times it happened, Mattis said, bring your own amp. Plug everything into the amp like you do at home, and then if you have to mic the amp, do that. But then, because I'm going back to England and I want to play there, but I don't want to bring my stuff.
Bring your amp.
So that's why I thought I'd try the preamp. I just don't want to go to a festival or a gig again and then have to take all my. I was hoping that it would fix.
No, and I years ago in Bangkok, I found this thing, it's this little lunchbox amp. It's actually really loud. It's solid state. It doesn't sound like insanely good, but it sounds quite okay. It's not, like the best amp ever, but it's not a bad amp, and it just means that you can then put a mic in front of that and play a show kind of anywhere. I mean, huge stadium maybe, but anywhere else. And yeah, for whatever reason, a microphone, particularly a very directional one, which the SM57 is the like kind of standard and not that expensive and really rugged, hard to break. People have tried, but it just sits in front of your amp, just off to the side of the speaker, and it gets a really good sound. That microphone isn't so great for vocals, but it's just great for guitar.
Okay.
So yeah,
I'll remember.
SM57.
I'll write it down. Why? Recordings.
You can always, you'd be like, in the shop, you'd be like, I think it was at like minute 58, his Dave went on. He never stops talking.
Shut up, David. That's when it shatters.
Yeah.
Flying China.